Okay, so we are on video number 9, and this will probably be the last video. It should take us through to the conclusion of the printed tutorial. We're in tutorial page 20 on the lower side of the left-hand column. And in our last video, we finished up a passage of time operation, and we're back to the war column phase. And so we go ahead here and we discard our current event up here. And so we draw another card from the war deck. And so let's just say we draw card number W29, excuse me, W25, which is our reshuffle. So basically, when this card is drawn, you reshuffle the deck and you completely draw it again. So in the column movement segment on the card, as well as on the event section of the card, it instructs us to reshuffle and reconstitute the deck. And so we'll do that, and we'll say that we'll draw card W09. Card number 9 gets drawn. We won't reconstitute the deck for the purposes of the tutorial. We'll just throw him in there. So we draw this guy out, and again, we see that there is no movement for the north. Just zoom in so you can see this well on your screen. All right, there we go. Nice and big on your screen. You'll see there's no north section here in the movement portion of the card. So we roll a die. Again, a die roll of 1 will cause the war column here to reduce in strength by 1. But let's just say that we roll a 5 or something like that, so there's no change. So now we're going to draw a new war card. And we're going to draw, let's say, card number 19. So let's go find that guy. Card number 19 gets drawn for the event. And it says, after a band possessing at least 1 captive is marked as finished in a war space, spend all captives possessed by this band, and war ends. And so if there's more than 1 war column in the space, only one of them ends. It is possible to have more than 1 war column in the same spot. And if that were to happen, then only one of the wars will end. You get to choose which one. So this is a very attractive event here for us. I'd have to do a take actions operation to make use of this, but it is an attractive option because it would end the war for us at no military point cost, but we are dangerously low on military and culture points. Our culture points are 0 right now, and so there's just, I'm going to have to activate a band in order to do this. And when you activate a band, well, now there's a chance that somebody's going to activate over here and do something. And I could end up in a worse mess. So personally speaking, if I'm playing the game, seriously playing the game, I would probably avail myself of this to end the war on the cheap. But for the purposes of a tutorial, that would not allow me to show you how to fight a battle. And it is a pressing concern to raise our culture points. So we're going to go ahead and we come to the operation selection phase, and we're going to choose to do a culture operation, excuse me. Please don't confuse operations with actions. And I misspoke just a moment ago, but don't confuse the two together. Operations provide the context in which actions can take place, but don't confuse the two. The terminology is very important to understand there. So we're going to do a culture operation. It's the simplest operation to execute. Basically, we gain 1 culture point for every territory that contains a rancheria. And so having more than 1 rancheria in a territory, that doesn't help us. So spread them out. Again, it's a lot like Navajo Wars where you want to spread your families out. Here, it's somewhat the same idea. Spread them out, and that will give you the most possible use of the culture operation. So right now we have a rancheria in 2 different territories, so we're going to gain 2 culture points. Boom. Just like that. Now we could have gained a 3rd culture point if we controlled this territory, and we're so close to doing it. If we'd maintained this as an ally, we would have gotten a bonus culture point for controlling the territory. Similarly down here, if these 2 tribes were not here, we would have control of Lower Arkansas, and that would have given us a bonus culture point. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and advance the culture point from 0 to 2 on the general record track. And we will advance the operations counter. There's no need to make a die roll here. It's an unnumbered space, so we just advance it one spot closer to the must-do passage of time space. And in the operation cleanup phases, we can skip steps 1 and 2 since they don't apply. And step 3, let's just say it once more, we have a full success check draw a couple. Let's just say we pull a success counter out, and since there is no APs available to the enemy over here, there's really no need to do much of anything here. So our nothing really happens in the operation cleanup phase. Something I wanted to point out about this, though, one of the other reasons why I wanted to do culture now is all of my bands are unfinished. That is a great time to do a culture operation because there is no risk of the enemy getting a freebie, a free action during the operation cleanup phase. It provides a safe context in which to milk the game for culture points. In fact, if I'm playing the game competitively, in a real-time scenario, I would probably go ahead and do another culture operation right now, get my culture points up to 4. But for the sake of the tutorial, we'll just kind of move things along here. Once again, we get back to our war column phase, and we discard this event here. Maybe we get lucky and draw something better. I don't remember exactly what we drew here, so let's it's kind of a surprise now. It's been several months since I wrote the tutorial. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to draw a card from the War Cards deck. Let's say we draw number 6. And we consult the movement portion. So let's just go ahead and zoom that in so you can see it real good. And we see that north does in fact move. So north is going to move into our Rancheria's space. So here we go. And due to the layering and vassal, these overlap in an awkward way, I suppose. All right, so they are in the same space as our Rancheria. So we are probably going to have a battle here. Well, we are going to have a battle here. So now we're going to roll a die to see if the war column loses strength. And again, let's say we roll a 2, which is close, but it's not good enough. So that will remain a 2 strength war column. Discard the movement card, pull the war cards out, and we'll draw an event. Let's say we draw card number 23. Card W23, the event is, there's only one of these in here, and this is a tough one to make good use of. A lot of time, it's basically going to be, more often than not, it's going to be luck for you to take advantage of this in a way that's going to help you. More often than not, this card is going to hurt you. It says, at the end of this turn's Operation Cleanup phase, if there is at least 1 war column in play, you lose 1 military point. If there are 0 war columns in play, plus 1 military point. So you're really at you're a victim of luck, because again, you're only going to draw this if there is a war column in play. And so if you can by some means remove all of the war columns from play before the Operation Cleanup phase, then you would gain a military point. This is, if you can take advantage of that, great, but usually it's going to be hard to take advantage of that. So step 4 of the war column phase, again, does not apply, but step 5 now applies. Here we're confronted with a choice. We can either lose 1 military point and fight a battle, or we can lose 2 military points and surrender any captives that Rancheria A may have available to it. This option, the question did come up on Board Game Geek. Let's say I have 0 captives here. Can I still take the 2 military point loss and not fight a battle? The answer is absolutely. It's just that if you have any captives, you lose them all by availing yourself of that 2 military point loss. So we really don't want to do that. Let's go ahead and actually fight a battle. So zoom back out here. Military points goes from 2 to 1. So they found our Rancheria, so we're going to lose 1 military point. But we'll fight a battle here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to read section 7 of the rule book before continuing. So just pause the video here, read section 7. I think it's 1 page in the rule book. And when you're done, we'll go ahead and work through that process. Okay, so if you played Navajo Wars, you'll recall that there was a battle chart in Navajo Wars. We made it a lot simpler in Comancheria, more streamlined perhaps. And so you'll notice the difference right away. Because this battle is taking place in the same space as a rancheria, we're going to need to choose which band is going to fight for us now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the fighting band and I'm going to bring them over to here. So just for the sake of making this look good on your screen, I'm going to drag all of the contents of the resources box over here. And then I'm going to zoom in real close so you can see this well. There we go. All right, so basically all of this stuff is present in the rancheria. Now, obviously, if there's only one band, or if the battle is in a space without a rancheria, say a space where there's just a band sitting out there, then that band is going to be the Comanche unit. In this particular case, we get to choose which of these three bands is going to be the, quote, Comanche unit. So, and notice that if the battle is in the same space as an allied tribe, the ally is defined as Comanche unit, even though they are not Comanche per se. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose our 2-strength band. It's our best guy. We're going to equip him with a horse. So let's go ahead and put horses underneath him. And we'll send our Mahimiana along and give him some trade goods. So he's got all of this in his possession. We'll just kind of stack them like so. All right, so this guy is fighting for the families and everything here. And we have no guns to spend, so what we're going to do is in step 2 of the battle, now that we've selected who's going to fight and we've equipped them, now we're going to fight it out. And we'll work through a single round of battle by choosing whether or not we're going to spend guns if we were to have them. If we have guns, we get to roll 2 dice and select our best roll. So guns are really powerful, but again, you spend the dice, you spend the guns to roll the dice twice. Here we don't have any guns, so we're not going to worry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the modifiers listed in 7.1 step 2. And so in our case, we're going to get +2 to our roll because of the strength of our band. We're going to get a +1 for having our Mahimiana along directing the fight. It doesn't matter what his medicine rating is, he just adds +1. So we have +2, +1, and then we have a culture card down here, horsemanship, +1 battle die roll modifier for Comanche bands in possession of a horse's counter. So we have a horse's counter, so that's going to give us a +1. So we're +2, 3, and 4. So we're +4 on our die roll modifiers. That's a good place to be. You really can't do any better than that, actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and roll a die. We should consult the modifier here for the enemy war column that we're fighting. This is a -0, so there is no modifier. But if he was stronger, like a 4, he would be that would apply a -1 to our die roll. So in our case, there's no modifier for the war column strength. So we roll a die, we add our modifiers, and we roll a 1. Now, that's the worst possible thing we can do because despite any modifiers we have, a 1 always causes you to lose a round of battle. So this is where we spend our trade goods. So, because now we've got, there's a 16% chance, only a 16% chance that we will do that again. So our chances are better than 80% that we are going to roll better than a 1. Anything other than a 1, and we'll win this round of battle. So we roll again, and by the way, never ever say if I roll anything other than before you roll the dice. You're totally just asking for it. All right, it's tempting fate to even think it. All right, so now we don't get any more re-rolls, so we roll the dice again. This time, let's say we roll a 6. Well, in this case, it doesn't matter what our modifiers are. A 6 always wins for us. So it doesn't matter how weak or how strong an enemy is, a 6 always wins a round of battle. So as a result of that, what we'll do is we'll check with Rule 7.2. And the result of the Comanche win is that we decrease the war column strength by 1. So we'll go ahead and drop him down. Now, because the war column is not reduced to 0, and they remain in our space here, the war does not end, the battle doesn't end, and we fight another round. So for the second round, we go back to step 1, and we can choose a Comanche unit. I get to choose any one of my bands in here, but it makes most sense to choose this guy because these are my heavy hitters here. +2, +1, +1, and anything other than a 1, and we win. So we go ahead and roll the dice one more time, and let's say we just roll a 2. We've been rolling a lot of those lately. And 2 + 2 +1 +1, that's a 6, and that's our target. Basically, we need a modified roll of 6 in order to win. So there we go. Any modified roll of 6 or higher, or an unmodified roll of 6 is a win, and that causes these guys to be reduced. So we can go ahead and just delete the marker, and we will put the strength counter, or the instruction counter rather, back into here. And all these guys, now he will retain, because he possessed these for the battle, he will retain that until the cleanup phase. So we could still use him, take him around, do stuff, but he can't relinquish control of those resources until after the Operation Cleanup phase. He is not marked as finished. Just he stays exactly as he is for now, so he just stays like that. And so we had a Mihimiana with us, and that's fortunate because we get to increase his medicine reading by 1 because we won the battle. So that's cool. And now there's no war columns in phase, so even though we lost a military point because they entered our Rancheria space, we're going to get that back at the end of the Operation Cleanup phase. When we get there, don't forget to apply this, and that'll punch our military points. We'll just punch that ticket right now, actually. That'll punch us right back up to 2, and boom, there you are. So this is a little bit shorter of a video than the others, but that pretty much takes us to the conclusion of the tutorial. And really by now, you have, I think, a good enough grasp of the rules. You should to be able to play. There is an FAQ document on BoardGameGeek.com that I'm maintaining that hopefully will answer any questions that might come up. There's a few things I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, oh, I wish I had made this clearer on the cards. I was very loath to change any wording during the last couple months when we were doing the proofreading. I didn't want to change any wording or add wording to cards for clarity. I was just being very cautious about that because that's when it's so easy to accidentally introduce something that fundamentally changes the way the game plays in a way that's not, desired by the designer. So I was trying to be very, very careful about that, and some things I wish was a little clearer. So I did add some clarifications, and maybe some questions you might have will be answered by that document. There's only been a couple out-and-out mistakes in the rule book, and most of it's just like there's a parenthetical statement that doesn't make any sense in an example, and there is there's a bullet point that goes from rule D to rule D, and so it should have been E instead of D. Just dumb little things like that have cropped up. So far, only one mistake in the tutorial, thank goodness, and that wasn't a big deal. We just forgot to tell you that there was 3 success counters down here when there was really 2. So far the errata has been very kind to us, and hope you're enjoying the game. If you have again, any questions, you can get them answered on Board Game Geek or find me on Twitter, post a question there. I've been fielding things there. I don't really monitor the YouTube channel commenting that carefully, so that's probably not the best place to ask a question. I may see it, I may not. Your best place to ask a question would be on Board Game Geek. So thank you for watching this. If you haven't read all of the rule book by now, you've read most of it due to the reading assignments in the tutorial, but if you haven't, a couple critical areas are listed in the bottom right-hand column on page 21 of the playbook. It'll walk you through rules sections that we did not directly give you an assignment to read during the tutorial. And so just make sure you go through those. A lot of that stuff you can read it as they come up in the course of the game. This tutorial pretty much gives you the nuts and bolts of gameplay and she gets you going. Good luck. It is a challenging game. If you're just playing through the first historic period, this is pretty easy to achieve, the victory goal here. It gets tougher getting into the second period. The third period is the game changes. You will notice how the game will change. You start to lose the initiative, and then the last period, the fourth period of the game is very challenging. It doesn't matter how many military or culture points, you can't take anything for granted and always work with the assumption that you could lose at any moment. Be very, very careful how you play in that fourth period because things can slide out of control so fast. So I have actually only won the campaign a couple of times. So if you are winning the game a lot, or I'd like to know about it. So post some comments on Board Game Geek. We tried to make sure that the play balance was there. There are some ways that you can make the game easier or harder. I haven't listed out really any of those publicly, but there are some things that you can do to make the game easier, either easier or harder. So we're just kind of going to monitor that stuff for now. I don't think any tweaks are needed. We did have one playtester that felt that the campaign was too easy, but I could not duplicate his level of success. So either he just had the right rabbit's foot that he's playing with, or he was playing incorrectly, which is always a possibility with a solitaire game. It's very difficult as a designer to make sure that your playtesters are playing the rules right. So if you're winning too often, chances are you're missing a rule somewhere, or you are a lot luckier than I am. So I'm Joel Toppin. Thank you for watching this, and hope you are enjoying the game. And again, if you have any questions, Board Game Geek or Twitter, those are the best ways to get in touch with me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.